It is Leading with the Helmet. I'm Danny. He's Goods. You can follow me on Twitter at Danny Mata Jr. You can follow him at Fire and Miss. Thank you so much for making us part of your day, night, whatever it is. As we start this show, the Patriots have just knocked off the Colts by a final score of 38-24 on Thursday Night Football. We'll get into that. We'll also talk a little bit more about Pat Mahomes and the season he's having. It is my co-host freaked out about the Vikings and Texans and Cowboys. Could that be the most impossible game ever to pick? We'll discuss that as well. But we begin with the most recent news. The Patriots knocking off the Colts 38-24. Tom Brady, the third quarterback ever to reach 500 touchdown passes. He joins Peyton Manning and Brett Favre on that list. Goods, not that the Colts were a terrific opponent, not that we think this is an overly telling game, but your thoughts about what you've seen from the Patriots the last couple of weeks, starting with the Dolphins game on Sunday.
Most people knew that the Patriots were going to bounce back. I mean, yeah, everyone's waiting for this amazing just falling over the cliff situation, and I'm one of those people, until I'm proven different, that I'm just going to stay with a consistent team. And they've been good for too long to not have the benefit of the doubt. It was only a matter of time before they turned around.
500 touchdown passes, just another amazing thing to add to a resume. You know, we talked a lot about Tom Brady on this show, but, you know, from an outsider's perspective, you being a Vikings fan, I know you've always had respect for greatness in general. For Tom Brady, having watched, you and I have watched his career unfold from the beginning. When you think of him, what comes to mind?
His ability to take any offense and make it good, or great even, is what's most impressive to me. Like, every great quarterback, like truly elite, has always had that receiver that you always pair with him. But he's never had that, and it doesn't matter.
Right, exactly. Like, people talk about, Gronk, but he won a Super Bowl without Gronk because Gronk hurt himself. And then, that was the one here against Atlanta here in Houston. And then he won 3 Super Bowls with Troy Brown and David Givens. And then, like, that one year he had Moss and Welker, he threw 50 touchdowns. Like, so you kind of saw a little bit of everything. And I agree with you, man. Like, you see that, he does so much with relatively little around him. I'm not going to discredit his defense or his coach or any of those things. I mean, obviously, he's had some pretty good defenses behind him and a pretty good coach. But, like, when you look at the things that he has won, the receivers that he's thrown to, and even think about this, like, we see Sony Michel today, but how many great running backs has Tom Brady ever played with? He had that one year with Corey Dillon in 2004 when they won the third Super Bowl in 4 years. And other than that, like, I can't think of any elite back he's ever had.
Yeah, I can't either.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think he has. I mean, I think he won 2 Super Bowls with Antoine Smith as his running back, if memory serves. And if you don't know who Antoine Smith is, there's a reason for that. But Antoine Smith can say he's a Super Bowl champion, so I guess there's that. So, but yeah, I mean, very impressive thing for Brady. So, as you and I talked about, I think I said I was going to be the last one off the bandwagon. Like, I'll believe it when I see it. You said something similar when we did game picks. Is this pretty much like have the Patriots pass that early season threshold that they've kind of been in the last few years, where they kind of get off to slow starts? Are we at that threshold, and do you think it's full go from here?
Well, I mean, they might have another hiccup or two or whatever throughout the year, but they'll still end up in the playoffs and most likely the AFC Championship. I mean, as far as starting out under 500, that's over.
I wonder, so here's the question I have for you. We talk so much about the NFC in the offseason and how loaded the conference is, and I'm not going to turn around and backtrack on that at all. We also talked about the AFC and how it was relatively weak. A quarter into the season, there's going to be a lot of unanswered questions. This time last year, the Kansas City Chiefs were, bar none, hands down, the best team in football, right? This time last year. And we know how that turned out. Like, ultimately, like, everything settled into where it's going to be. But a month into the year, we've got the Chiefs with Pat Mahomes, who's going crazy. You've got the Patriots who seem fine. You've got the Jaguars are looking real good right now, and even without Leonard Fournette for most of the season. The Steelers seem to be in flux, but the Bengals look great. I mean, the shootout that Andy Dalton went toe-to-toe with Matt Ryan on a day where Ryan was playing pretty well, and Andy Dalton won a shootout. That's very impressive. Is the AFC better than we thought, or is this just one of the things that happens a month into the year?
I mean, we never said that 100% of the teams in the AFC were bad. What we said was collectively the NFC is far superior than the AFC, and that's still holding true. I mean, you've had a few elite teams looking great, and then the rest is not at all.
Right.
So that is really what it's come down to.
I think one of the interesting things about like where we are right now is that like there's so much promise for so many different teams. Like you look at, I said we were going to talk about this at the start of the show, but like you talk about Pat Mahomes. Like right now, we had Players of the Month came out. Pat Mahomes, AFC Offensive Player of the Month. I don't think anyone's going to protest that. J.J. Watt, Defensive Player of the Month for the Texans. I think, but when you look at Mahomes and what he is doing, and you look at the defense he's going to have to face, you take away Jacksonville and who he's going to see on Sunday, and there's not really an elite defense in the AFC that I can find. Like I know the Ravens are statistically a top 5 defense, but no one. I don't think anyone looks at them anymore and thinks overwhelming Ravens defense anymore. Is this something that like? Do you think this changes? Is this something that's sustainable? Like, how far can Pat Mahomes take the Chiefs? Do you see any defense in the AFC anyway, outside of Jacksonville, that you think could slow them down?
Probably not. I mean, I think the Patriots can keep up with them, and I think the Jags can stop them. And other than that, I'm not. Oh, maybe the Chargers. I'll have to see what the Chargers are capable of through the season.
I feel like the Chargers are always way better on paper than they are in actuality, right? Like every year you get, the Chargers, and when you look at the collection of talent that they have a lot of good players, but they never seem to put the whole thing together. And I know Joey Bosa's missed some time this year, and I get that. But even last year, like they weren't a lockdown defense. Like they have a lot of names. It's one of those things. The Chargers as a team overall kind of feel like that team, don't they? Like they always have a lot more pieces that individually add up to being way greater than the sum of the parts that we see on the field. You know what I'm saying? Like we never actually see them live to that potential. We just hear about it, and this has been going on for a long time. So I don't know about that. The Bengals are the team that to me I look at and I think, wow, like they're like, I thought they'd be better, but I didn't think they would be this much better so quickly. But Andy Dalton's playing the best football maybe of his career. He had a season like this in 2015 that was cut short when he broke his thumb. And he hadn't gotten back to that form. He's in it right now. How do the Bengals look to you?
They're solid. I mean, I've been picking them a lot every week, almost. Yeah. And then against tough teams, too. I expect them to do good things. But elite status, I don't know. But they're definitely a competitive team, no matter who they play.
Yeah, the skill position players. AJ Green, Tyler Boyd. I mean, they've got. And again, this was the reason why we liked him in the preseason. But it's impressive. I mean, going into Atlanta and winning a shootout against Matt Ryan's very impressive. I mean, I'll tell you, Matt Ryan's got to feel sick to his stomach with the way that he has played and the points that they have put up the last 2 weeks, and they're 0-2 in the last 2 weeks, despite going up and down the field on their opposing defenses.
They've had a lot of defensive injuries this year so far.
Right, as the thing that they have almost nobody left on defense. Like this is unreal. I haven't seen a team get hit this hard on defense with injuries. Really, probably the last time I saw a team get hit this hard was probably the Cardinals that year. And what was it, 2014, where they started I think like 11-1, and then everyone ended up on IR. That's the last time I saw a team just get decimated this way. But that was the entire Cardinals team. But for the Falcons, I mean, they're just, and it's not just like, it's not a couple of guys too. It's like big time players that they're losing. Yeah. I think they're just out of players. But I guess on that note, Do you think the Falcons still have a chance? Because here's the thing: like, there's not a lot of ground to give in the NFC, but when you have a quarterback who's going to play like that, you're going to have a chance. Where do you see the Falcons right now, a quarter into the year?
I think if I'm not sure on the status of their injured defenders, but I know Freeman comes back this week. That'll help the offense more, and it'll help eat
Ball
time,
control,
which will
right,
stop the other team from scoring so much. And I'm not sure I think one of the guys is out for the season, but the other guys I'm not too sure on how long they're out. And if they get them back, I mean, they've been playing well other than, the injury-causing defense.
Yeah, I'll tell you one thing. If Matt Ryan keeps playing like this, they're not going to be out of this. And I understand 1-3 doesn't look good, but I mean, you've seen, I've seen. I mean, the way that he's playing right now, they're going to be in a lot of games. They're going to have a chance to win a lot of football games if he's going to keep playing like that. And not exactly. And again, say what you want about the Saints defense, and you've heard me say my things, but the Bengals are a pretty good defense, and they were no match for him on Sunday. So they got something going there. So rude awakenings, and I think one of the things that we'll do is we're gonna have to kind of go through like some of the teams with the best records in football, and we'll kind of figure out who we like, who we don't like. And I'll start it with this. The awakening of the year, and I think you and I saw it coming. I think everyone outside of South Florida and probably a lot of people in South Florida saw it coming. But the Miami Dolphins just got ripped limb from limb by the Patriots. Is this a sign of things to come, or do you think the Falcons can bounce back?
I don't think they will.
Dolphins, excuse me. Yeah.
I was surprised that they started that way to begin with, and then now they're starting to suffer a lot of injuries, especially to their O-line. So I think they're just going to get worse, actually.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't really think much of them as a contender. I think the AFC East is as bad as it's ever been. That's why I think to myself, like, if not for the Patriots, you might have 7 and 9 division winners every year out of there. That division's been bad for a long time. So I agree with you. We'll call them pretenders. So we talked about the Bengals. They're 3-1. You buying them or you selling them?
I will to a degree. I'll take them, but I mean, they're going to make the playoffs, I believe, but I do not think they can beat the elite AFC teams.
Yeah, I'm not really sold on it either. I had to see it, but I'm not really sold on it. Their division rivals, the Baltimore Ravens, also 3-1. You buying them?
No, they can only beat bad teams. Any good team will beat them.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what to think of the Ravens. They got off to a good start, but I'm kind of with you on that. I don't really see anything impressive that they've done. They lost to the Bengals. They beat a very pedestrian Broncos team. They beat the Steelers, who I'm not high on, and then the Bills. You're right, weak team. So AFC South. Tennessee and Jacksonville, both 3-1. So we'll start with Tennessee. You buying or selling?
No, one of their wins and Jags' only loss came with Fournette being out in a weird 6-3 game. That's not going to happen again. I don't think the Titans are what the record shows.
Yeah, I would agree with that, except that the last 2 weeks they've beaten Jacksonville and Philadelphia.
Well, Philly, again, is another team that hasn't played as well as they should be. And that Tennessee game was weird. Philly kind of gave it to them.
Yeah, I kind of felt that way, too. I also felt like there was some BS officiating going on in that game, too. I agree. I just don't buy the staying power of the Titans long term. But I will tell you one thing I think that I like is they've definitely figured out a way to stretch the field vertically, which is something that they completely lost any ability to do last year. And that Corey Davis, who, up until this past Sunday looked like a first-round bust, had a game of his life, 9 catches, 164 yards, touchdown. That guy, if he becomes the guy that they expected him to be when he was drafted, and if Sunday's any indication, they got a lot of stuff going for him. So we'll see. But I'm a little hesitant, but I'm still going to say I don't buy him right now long term. Jacksonville 3-1. I think you and I both buy them. How much does Leonard Fournette's health concern you long term?
Well, as a fantasy owner, it affects me deeply. It's been shit. Because he played the first game for 1 quarter, he played the second game for like a quarter and a half, or not the second game, but the whenever he came back last week, for a quarter and a half, and then that's it. That's all he's played.
Dude, I traded Antonio Brown, and you and I are in 2 leagues together. You have him in the 10-team league. In the 14-team league, I traded Antonio Brown to get Leonard Fournette, and I felt really good about that just because of, like, I had no running back, so I'm deep at receiver, and then Fournette gets hurt right away. I'm like, oh, great. The only good thing is I have TJ Yeldon, so I'm not going to hang myself yet. But it's been I'm somehow 3-1 in that league, and I think I've scored like the third or fourth fewest points in that league. It's just been entirely luck of scheduling that I'm 3-1.
Yeah.
Yeah, I honestly, like, if my schedule was any different, I'd be winless. I'd be sitting in last place, completely screwed. But I'll take it, right? Take them however you can get them.
Yeah, luck is good for some, I guess.
Hey, luck works just fine. All right. And the Kansas City Chiefs, 4-0. We saw this a year ago. But Pat Mahomes is playing some serious ball. I feel like, people forget, though. Like, the one thing I try to tell myself to temper this is Alex Smith was lighting the world on fire at this point of last season, too. Now, I mean, obviously, we're not going to dog Alex Smith. He's proven to be a pretty solid quarterback. But, he was playing at a psychotic clip at this point last year, and the Chiefs were rolling. Now it's Pat Mahomes. How do you? I mean, I think we both buy them as a playoff team, but how good is this Chiefs team?
I think offensively, it'll be them and the Rams at 1 and 2. But defensively, that's where they're gonna have problems. I think that any good scoring team can outscore them, and then any great defensive team, then they'll have problems stopping them. Like Bortles, for example, can put up 23, and then that could be the whole game.
Right. They're going to have to get something out of that defense at some point. I will tell you this. You mentioned the Rams. The NFL's been trying to push this international games. And, Jacksonville basically plays in London all the time for some freaking reason. Like, I guess because no one goes to their games. Maybe they do now, but even still, like, they get sent to London a lot. And they put games in Mexico City and stuff. So this year, the Mexico City game, tell me if this is going to spark international happiness. The Chiefs play the Rams on November 19th in Mexico City.
I think people who aren't true football fans, and even a lot who are, love offense, and that game should have tons of it.
I would think that you could not, if the NFL is trying to expand its brand internationally, and I've never bought into the idea of London having a team. I think logistically there's too many problems with the travel and what it does. I mean, imagine having to fly from London and play the Chargers. Like, you just can't. You can't do that. There's too many problems logistically. Not unless you add a bye week somewhere, an extra bye week in there somewhere. But I really feel like there's way too many problems logistically with that thing. But I've always felt like Mexico City could have a chance if they want to expand internationally. And I feel like them getting a game like this. Now, granted, no, I don't think anyone realized how good both these teams would be this good. But this is, right now, today, a month into the year, that's the game of the season. Rams, Chiefs. If there's any other game that you're looking forward to more, I would love to find out. Because for me, objectively, I can't think of a game I'd rather watch more than Rams and Chiefs.
They could potentially both be undefeated. Who knows?
Right, and even if not, they'll both probably be throwing up a lot of points.
Yeah, at least.
So, yeah, I think that's probably that to me so far is right up there game of the year. The only other game that it's comparable is Patriots-Packers for Aaron Rodgers versus Tom Brady, which, we have not gotten that game because of injuries and such. So I'm really hoping that we get something. I really hope that we get to see that game and then see the Chiefs-Rams game. I'm really excited about both those games. All right, so in the NFC. We'll look for our buyers. I feel like we're going to have to go a long way down this list just because of how many teams there are in the NFC. So we'll start in the East. The Washington Redacteds. They're 2-1, coming off a bye week. You buying them or are you selling them?
NFC East is a very odd division. The only team I'm still thinking is an honestly could potentially go deep in the playoffs kind of team is the Eagles, even though they've struggled early. Um, no other team has shown to really be able to just dominate teams.
The Cowboys can't score. The Giants are terrible. I think it's going to come down to Washington and Philly. I feel like the Eagles will win the division, but the one thing that concerns me the most is the Eagles' defense has just not picked up. Where it left off a year ago, or actually, sorry, maybe it has. They got lit up by Tom Brady, and they're that defense that got lit up by Tom Brady in the Super Bowl. They're not the defense that we saw throughout last season that was dominating left and right. That concerns me. But if we're talking about teams getting into shootouts, anyone really think that Alex Smith and Adrian Peterson are going to outduel Carson Wentz in a division race? I doubt it. I just don't see it. So I'd probably say that I think Washington's all right though, but over Philadelphia, I got to see more. I don't buy them. Philadelphia's the only team in that division I buy. The Bears 3-1, one of the best defenses in football, home to NFC Defensive Player of the Month, Khalil Mack. Which that could not have gone a whole lot better for them. So as far as that trade goes, so what do you think about the Bears?
I am becoming more and more worried each week, to be honest.
Yeah,
I thought the Packers were my only issue, but the Bears, and if Trubisky can get everything going, and then that defense is looking scary and scary, Mac is just, he's put them on a different level. And that team is playing very good right now.
And they get a bye week, and then they get Miami, and then they get the Patriots, which is tough. But they follow that up with Jets, Bills, and Lions. Like, they have a legitimate chance. They're 3-1. So even if you say they were to lose to New England, right? They're looking at a 6-2 start to the season if they just hold serve. That goes a long way.
Yeah, it does.
I mean, so you get off to a fast start. I mean, you can go a long way with that. I mean, and look, people remember that Packers game for how insane Aaron Rodgers was. But people forget the Bears were in complete control of that game before Rodgers got hurt. And everything that happened in that game was all happened after Rodgers got hurt. But while he was healthy, the Packers couldn't move the ball. That's a really good defense. I'm kind of starting to buy him too. I think the problem with that division is that it's just so loaded. But could I see three teams? I don't know. I feel like that it's shaping up to being the NFC that we talked about in the preseason, right? We're going to see multiple 10-win teams miss the playoffs. I feel exactly the same about that. Do you?
Yeah, I still stand by that. Even though the NFC had a couple games that were surprise losses, they'll figure it out. There's just too much talent in the NFC.
Yeah, I'm buying the Bears at this point. Packers 2-1-1. I don't have any reason not to buy the Packers as long as Aaron Rodgers is healthy. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, that team is just that team. Until Rodgers goes down, then they'll be where they always are.
Okay, so now this is the interesting one, the shocker of the season, quarter of the year. The Vikings only have one win 1 month into the season. When we did the show last week, we did it right before the Thursday night game. And I understand that we don't talk about moral victories or anything, but I'm going to give you my opinion because I'm not the Vikings fan. This is just what I see from the outsiders. I'd actually be encouraged if I'm a Vikings fan by what I saw against the Rams. They hung right in there in that game, and they were right there. Their defense, coming off an embarrassing loss on a short week, got lit up really badly by the Rams. But Thursday Night Football, short week. That's a hard offense to prepare for in a short week. You got to remember circumstances like that. If they see each other again, I don't expect the Rams to go cold on offense, but I think the Vikings can hold their own. I'm actually encouraged by what I saw for the Vikings, and I think they're going to be okay. The problem is that we talked about the margin for error, and they've got a huge game against the Eagles coming up on Sunday. And I think we're kind of starting to get into must-win territory because you're a month into the year, you've only got one win. You've got to do something. But I feel better, way better after that Rams game than that. Even though they lost that game, it tells me that Bills game was a complete fluke and an aberration. How do you feel about the Vikings, Mr. Vikings fan?
Yeah, I mean, I watched that game kind of feeling like it was going to be a loss, not being surprised if it was because the Rams they got my respect. But they fought hard. Cousins had an insane game, and the defense on both sides really. I mean, it was really high scoring, but they weren't playing terrible. I mean, these quarterbacks were making throws that were absurd. Like they were pinpoint accuracy. It's like defenses would be all over the receivers, and it didn't matter. I mean, what can you do? And then I think 3 different times, actually all 3 on touchdowns, where somehow Anthony Barr got put on a guy that he shouldn't have got put on. And I don't know how that happened, but
Right.
yeah, it's something like that could be corrected. And then that's 21 points.
Right. They created a lot of mismatches. I'll tell you one thing, like right now, and again, a month into the season, so this is a reaction here. And I'm not saying that I'm going to change my Super Bowl picks or any of that stuff over this, but today, I don't know who's going to beat the Rams because they're going to have more good days than bad days on defense. And the way that that offense is playing with Goff and Cooks, I mean, there's just weapons everywhere on that team. Cooper Kupp went crazy. They just have a little bit of everything. It's a fast-paced offense that can wear you down. The Rams look great. But Kirk Cousins, I'll tell you one thing. There's a lot of people have had a lot of gripes about Kirk Cousins, but they've got one win. I can't really put that on him. Some of the throws, especially in the game against the Packers and then Thursday's game against the Rams, the accuracy on some of those throws is absurd. Like that throw on the sideline to Thielen against the Packers and double coverage was insane. And then you go to the Vikings game, the Vikings-Rams game, and like every throw was like that. He is balling. He is playing some seriously good football right now.
Yeah, he's got a couple games over 400-something yards already. I mean, they're putting up points other than the Bills game. It's just the defense needs to shore up a couple of issues. And it would help if Griffin wasn't, jumping out of ambulances. He's their best pass rusher.
And they needed him in that Rams game because for Jared Goff, who's just sitting back there picking defenses apart, you've got to make him uncomfortable, and they were not able to do that. The Rams look really good right now, but I would tell you I am encouraged by the Vikings. I think we all agree the Lions are terrible. So we'll go straight. Well,
last year the Vikings were 2-2, and then look where they ended up. I mean,
right?
The Saints
exactly.
What were the Saints? 0-3 or something like that, and look where they ended up.
A month of the year, the Saints were 2-2. One they started 0-2 and they finished and they got to 2-2 by the end of the month.
But again,
so the Vikings
saw each other deep in the playoffs. So
right, exactly, right. So I mean, we don't know how things are going to turn out. We're a month into the year. Injuries happen. Guys that are playing well stop playing well. I mean, look at Ryan Fitzpatrick. I mean, we did this show 2 weeks ago where we were trying to figure out who the Bucs should play when Winston came back because Fitzpatrick was off his rocker. 2 weeks later, he's benched. So you just never know how things are going to go. I don't know that there's anyone else that's set up for such a seismic fall off like that because no one else is using Ryan Fitzpatrick to win games. But I don't know. But look at the NFC South. The Saints 3-1, can't stop a nosebleed, but damn it, they can score. Your thoughts on the Saints?
Well, last week they only gave up 16. That's good performance.
Yeah, but I mean, look at their 2 best games. Okay, so you mentioned they get 48 to Ryan Fitzpatrick, 18 to Tyrod Taylor's Browns, lit up by Matt Ryan, and then 18 to the Giants. Like, who's the you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, they had 2 good defensive games against the Browns and Giants, the teams that picked first and second in the draft. Okay.
Those are valid points.
Yeah.
Well, Fitzpatrick was just going apeshit at the time, and then Matt Ryan's been going crazy on everybody. So
yeah, they just haven't shown me they can stop anyone. I'll tell you one thing: they've got a tough game on Monday night and a good one at Washington. That'll be a tough one for them. And then they go into their bye week, come back. Baltimore, Minnesota, the Rams, the Bengals, and the Eagles, and then the Falcons again in succession. That is a 6-week stretch that is really brutal. Really, a 7-week stretch because Washington's on a cakewalk.
Yeah.
Washington can win that game. I think anyone that looks at what Alex Smith has done and the way they've controlled the ball with Adrian Peterson and helped out their defense, I don't think there's anyone that thinks that Washington isn't capable of beating the Saints. Like, they can totally win that game.
Yeah, Adrian Peterson's been a shocker this year.
He has, he kind of showed that he had a little bit last year when he got to Arizona. The Saints were a bad fit, and that happens sometimes. People associate the Saints, but they're spread it out. High-flying offense. Alvin Kamara is the right fit for that offense. Adrian Peterson is the lineup in the eye, run you over, Marshawn Lynch style back, right? And the Cardinals fit that for him last year. And I think that I think that he's in another good fit like that now. So I kind of expect that would probably continue. But it's a rough stretch for the Saints. But I still buy him because they've got Drew Brees and an offense that no one can stop.
Yeah.
What do you think the over/under is going to be? Do the Saints play the Rams this year? They do, yeah, November 4th. Yeah. So how many points? I wonder how many points there's going to be in that game. The Rams are going to play some high-scoring games this year.
70.
Yeah, I was going to say we might. I think about it today, and I wonder because I haven't seen it in the NFL yet since I've been watching. But I know at some point there's going to be a team that throws up 60 points in a shootout. It's going to happen eventually. Especially with the rules catering to the offenses these days. We're going to see a team score 60 points in a win in a competitive game. And I think the Chiefs are the most likely to pull that off only because they can't stop anybody. But my number 2 would be the Rams if they just got lit up by the Saints or something like that. I could see it. It's crazy to me how good the Saints offense is. All right, Carolina, 2-1, early bye week, and now they're back to work. Your thoughts on the Panthers? You buying or selling?
I think I picked them to go to the playoffs, didn't I? So,
yeah.
I've always kind of had belief in them.
I guess my point being, do you still feel good about them? I guess is what I mean.
Yeah, they're still a very good team. It's going to be hard as hell to make the playoffs in the NFC, but they can go out and beat anybody on a given Sunday. So as long as you can do that, you always stand a chance.
Really good front seven, obviously Cam Newton, and good running backs. They just have a lot of stability that sets them up to win games. I'll tell you, a team like the Panthers is the kind of team that I would think would potentially give the Rams some problems. They've got a good front seven, Carolina does, and they've got the ability to run the ball and keep Jared Goff and those guys off the field. That's always been the way to disrupt those high-powered offenses. You know it. We all know it. You keep those guys off the field. And the Panthers are set up to be able to do that. And I think there's something to that. I buy them too.
That's definitely the way, because I remember back in the day, Peyton Manning, when he was with the Colts, and they were in a playoff game in the time of possession. The game was around tied, I don't remember. But the time of possession was Manning's offense had it for 7 minutes, and then the other team had it for 30-something, but the game was almost tied.
I think that, you know what, if memory serves, that would have been a Monday Night Football game. I think that was when Manning was with the Colts. I think it was the Dolphins that were doing that to him. The Dolphins were the ones wildcatting him, but they kept giving up home run balls. This would have been about 9 years ago, right? That about right?
It was a long time ago, yeah.
So I'm saying, yeah, I think that's the game they were playing. And for some of our listeners that have heard this, I have a bit of a memory when it comes to football. Sometimes I really do. I don't know why, but I am fairly certain that was a Monday night game against the Dolphins where they were wildcatting them like crazy, and but they kept giving up home run balls to Peyton Manning, and they lost the game. I think they lost 27-24, something like that, right around there.
I just remember being close, and the time of possession was retarded. It was just funny.
Yeah, I remember that too. I do remember that happening. Okay, so here's the one thing. So someone has been saying over and over and over down here about the Bucks that he can't figure them out. And I asked him why, because I don't buy into the Bucks at all. And his argument, while simplistic, is pretty reasonable. What he said was, dude, anything Ryan Fitzpatrick can do, Jameis Winston can do as good or better. And they threw up a lot of points, even in their loss to the Steelers. They showed some signs. They got their butts kicked one time. other than that, they're 2-2. And what do you think of Tampa Bay? Like, is that a team you buy into long term? Do you buy into this idea that Jameis Winston can do everything that Ryan Fitzpatrick was doing?
I think he can lose just as well.
Yeah, I think that too.
I mean, Winston was in there last week against the Bears, and he got handled just like Fitzpatrick. So,
yeah, there isn't really a whole lot of anything that I've seen from the Bucs that gives me an inspiration of that is anything more than early season fluke. And you get those sometimes. We get early season flukes, and I think that's what we got. I don't think much of that at all. We talked about Atlanta. I think the biggest concern with Atlanta is really timing. And again, when I talk about a lot of these teams, a lot of it is just that the margin for error in the NFC is so small. They're 1-3, and they've thrown up no fewer than 31 points each of the last 3 weeks, and they've lost every game.
That's what defensive injuries do for you.
Yep, and they're facing another team that's struggling defensively at Pittsburgh, and I could see that game being incredibly high scoring. That's one of those games where, at least on the surface, you think, well, whoever I have in my fantasy team, I'm just going to start them. Whoever is on those rosters, because I have a feeling like Antonio Brown, James Conner, Ben Roethlisberger, Juju Smith-Schuster owners are going to feel really good, and Matt Ryan and Jones and Ridley and Freeman owners are going to feel great about that game. Which means we'll get a 7-3 game, but it's a big one. They have to win. But if they can get through Pittsburgh, Tampa Bay, and then the Giants after that, and if you can win those games, then you're suddenly 4-3. My biggest concern with the Falcons is looking at their schedule. By the time they hit their bye week, which will be after week 7, they will have already played 5 of their 8 home games. They've dropped 2 at home already. So this is a team that they really need to win the next 3 games, because you don't want to be 3-4, 2-5, having to go play most of your games on the road. Second half of the year, it's quite an uphill battle.
Yeah, I agree. It's like the Chiefs, who actually have had 3 road wins out of the first 4 games. Yeah,
that's the thing is that you look at the Chiefs, and you would figure that the staying power seems to be there, because whatever they do on the road, they're going to amplify at home. The Chiefs, if the Seahawks have the best home field advantage in football, then the Chiefs have the second best. And whatever they're doing offensively on the road, as you mentioned, they played 3 games in a row. Like, it's only going to get worse in Kansas City if you're playing them, right? You start giving them their own elements and their own crowd, and it can get ugly fast. I think the Chiefs have a lot of staying power. Okay, so we got the Rams. We definitely believe in the Rams. Do we believe anyone else in the NFC West can salvage their season? The Seahawks are 2-2. The Niners are 1-3, and the Cardinals are, the Cardinals.
The only good thing about the Cardinals is hopefully Rosen turns out to be all right. I mean, he showed some promise last week, so I was
going to ask you about Rosen and the promise they showed last week. I mean, obviously it was shaky moments, first career start, but I kind of thought he hung in there a little bit.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And Cardinals haven't had a true future quarterback in a long time. They got Warner when he was old. They got Palmer when he was old and always injured. So this would be nice if they actually have a nice young quarterback that can lead them to the future.
It's hard to criticize the Cardinals, because I agree with you on those things, but it worked. They got to the Super Bowl with Warner. They got to the NFC Championship with Palmer. They get work. The idea being that you get the veteran quarterback and you're instantly there. But you're right, staying power is where you get into trouble. But he hung in there a little bit. I don't really think you can really judge any quarterback by their first start, because if you did, Josh Allen would be like the greatest thing ever, because beaten the Vikings in Minnesota by a mile, and then you wait 1 week and no. And I'm pretty sure Josh Rosen wouldn't want any part of that defense today. So I just, it's hard to say, but I thought he kind of hung in there. I'm not saying he played great, because he did, but he rookies are on a different scale, and I thought he kind of hung in there. But I don't think anyone in the West is going to challenge. The Seahawks are bad. They're bad. And I'll tell you one thing, Russell Wilson, I love Russell Wilson. I think he's a top 5 quarterback in this league. I would have a hard time believing that the Seahawks can win 5 or 6 games at this point, because the thing that always helped Russell Wilson out when he had this horrible offensive line and no running game, and he's dealing with all that right now, but he always had a defense behind him. And that defense, by holding the fort down and forcing turnovers and forcing punts and 3-and-outs and creating extra possessions, allowed Wilson to bounce back and win games. He doesn't have that now, which means that in order to win games, he's gonna need to do the most he can with his possessions that he's actually going to get, and he's going to do it with Doug Baldwin, who has 2 bad knees. We have 3 running backs who we can't figure out who they're going to use on a given day. Their offensive line's terrible, and they kind of deserve it because the Seahawks had a chance to draft several offensive linemen with their pick. They could have taken Will Hernandez, who's right now the highest rated offensive lineman of all rookies. And instead they passed him up for a running back they don't use. They passed him up for Rashad Penny, who last week would have started, I thought was going to start for sure because Chris Carson was out. He had a golden matchup with the Cardinals, and he hardly plays. Like, the Seahawks kind of deserve this. This is like the worst job protecting a quarterback ever.
Yeah, now Earl Thomas is down for the season, so that defense just got worse.
What did you think of the Earl Thomas flipping the bird to the Seahawks? Because we know that he held out, he wanted a new contract or to get traded. Neither one of those things happened. He played, he broke his leg. A lot of people who are on the Le'Veon Bell bandwagon are talking about this and like, this is why you don't play on short deals. I kind of get it. What was your reaction to Earl Thomas? Did it surprise you?
I mean, I'm pretty sure someone could pay me $10 million right now and I'd go break something and be okay for life. So tell them to quit buying so much gold and quit their bitching.
Yeah, I feel like for me, these guys, they throw their bodies around, and everything that any franchise does, the owners, any of that revenue that they get is generated entirely by those guys that are on the field. And Earl Thomas is one of the best safeties I've ever seen. Next to Ed Reed, he's the best safety I've seen in my lifetime. He's incredible. And I don't have a problem with guys wanting more money, and I get it because, like, Earl Thomas, this is his second major leg injury. And, guys getting older. And I can see why you wouldn't want to play on an abbreviated deal, why you want that insurance money, why you want those long-term contracts to cover you financially. I don't have a problem with players doing it, man. Like, the only reason the NFL works is because of players. It sure as hell ain't. And no one's watching to see the owners. Watching to see the players. So, like, I get why they hold out, and I get why, Le'Veon Bell and Earl Thomas to me are guys that just recognize their value, and I don't have any problem with guys recognizing their value. I feel that way about everyone. Like, I feel like if you work at Domino's Pizza or something like that, you should. If they all decide to hold out and strike pizza delivery drivers, that would just ruin pizza places because, like, their whole backbone is these drivers. And if the drivers decide they're underpaid, what exactly are they? What exactly would Domino's or Pizza Hut do about it? Yeah, they could hire more people, but what about if they all strike at the same time? That's a massive loss of revenue for any single day or days they did that. The power's always been in the people, and I don't have a problem with NFL players doing what they're doing. That's just my opinion. I have no issue.
To a contract. Just live out your contract. If in the off season or when you're a free agent, you want to try and hold out for a better deal, then go nuts.
Okay.
Roger Clemens did it. Look at Roger Clemens.
Okay. Think about your job. Think about your job. Think about how much you get paid. If you outwork your job, if they hire you to do a job and you go above and beyond, and you do something that makes your business run more efficiently, that helps save money, that generates revenue, whatever, and those weren't the things that they signed, wouldn't you say, hey, you know what? I deserve a raise. I outworked my contract. Wouldn't you say that?
I actually just got a new job starting Monday.
Well, there you go. Congratulations. Why did you leave? Was it a better opportunity?
Yeah, but I didn't stop showing up for work. I still worked while doing it. Okay, no, I'm
not saying any of that because Earl Thomas did show up for work.
No, but you're battling with Le'Veon Bell too.
Okay. Here's my point.
I respect Earl Thomas. I'm not saying what he did was wrong. Coupling him with Le'Veon Bell, I don't like what Le'Veon Bell did. or is
But
doing.
even Le'Veon Bell, though, like again, like I see Earl Thomas get hurt, and I get it. Like he is not at a position at safety that generates the same injury risk that Le'Veon Bell does. Le'Veon Bell's a running back. Running backs get hit the most, they get hurt the most often. That's fact. He's had injury issues. And him saying that he doesn't want to play a full season on a short contract when he could get hurt again, like I get it. Like I totally get it, especially because his long-term value is directly tied to his health. So because it's a gamble for him too. If he goes out there and rips his ACL at any point in this season, week 1, week 10, if he shows up, plays all 16 games, and rips his ACL first day of the year, or happens week 10, it's going to greatly impact what he is going to get on the market next year. So he's preserving his body, and I get that, and I don't have a problem with that. My point is that, like, these guys, they're holding out for more money or now. I don't know what your new job entails, Goods, but I will say my bet is you probably make more money, and I hope you do, or you're in a better position to advance within your company, And so, I mean, we all do the same thing. I ain't got no problem with Le'Veon or anything. Like, given the circumstances, I get it. And you know what? He has enough money that he can sit down and take that time off for his body. Power to the guy. He earned that.
All right. For this conversation, I'm gonna hope that next season, Prescott, Elliott, all these guys just strike on the Cowboys, so you can watch them.
Well, again, I don't know that their offense would look a whole lot different than it does right now, because they are just.
But there would be no one to watch.
Yeah. So here's the thing, because we're not quite at game picks yet, but here's my thing on that. We're gonna do game picks. And I want to ask you, because this is a subject I talked about at the very beginning. This might be the hardest game to pick, not because I love both teams, because I don't love both teams. And I look at it, and here's the thing. I look at the Cowboys and the Texans. I think about the Texans having one of the 2 or 3 worst offensive lines in football. And I can't figure out any way they can block the Cowboys with DeMarcus Lawrence and Tyron Crawford, and David Irving is coming back from a suspension. He's a beast of a defensive lineman. And the Cowboys very quietly have a really good pass rush. I can't figure out any way the Texans are going to be able to block them. Conversely, what exactly are the Cowboys going to do to pick apart a very average to bad Texans secondary? Like, who's going to take advantage on the perimeter? If you don't think there's going to be 9 guys in the box keeping an eye on Zeke, even when he lines up at wide receiver in the slot, he's going to have guys on him all the time. I don't know who's going to win this game. And I ask you this question because I'm like, seriously, have you ever seen a game where there's 2 sides that are so inept at each of them at one particular thing that it makes it this hard? Have you ever seen that?
Yeah, it happens every year. I mean, there's always teams that are like 2-10, and you're like, who the hell is gonna just happen to have a good day? Who ate more Wheaties in the morning before the game? I mean, there's always games like that.
Yeah, I've seen some. I've covered a lot of football. I can't remember the last time I saw 2 teams that I thought, wow, this is the Sunday night football game. I got 2 teams. I can't figure out who's going to win this game.
That's Sunday night?
Sunday night football this Sunday. Which, again, the Cowboys won 9 games last year, and the Texans were lighting the league on fire when Watson was healthy last year. So in the preseason, I could see why that would be a good game. But you look at it now, and you're like, oh, well, okay. But I mean, one of these teams is going to be huge. I mean, the Cowboys beat the Texans. They're 3-2 despite all their troubles. I mean, you'll take that. They might be in first place. I mean, if the Vikings beat the Eagles and Washington loses to, who are we talking about? Who are they playing that we were just talking? The Saints. The Cowboys will be first place. This is a huge game for them. And the Texans, conversely, they follow up the Cowboys with the Bills. If they win their next 2 games, and they're 3-3 going to that Jacksonville game, they've saved their season. So it's an important game for both teams. But I just look at it and I just think, wow, like, how are the Texans going to block the Cowboys? And how exactly are the Cowboys going to score on the Texans? Because you look at the Texans, they're not good in their secondary. The corners are aging and slow, and it doesn't look good. But the Cowboys' best receiver is Cole Beasley.
I think their best receiver is probably Elliott.
Yeah, exactly. That thing against the Lions that we saw I thought was brilliant. They're like, okay, we're just going to give the ball to Elliott as many times as possible. And that's a great idea. Short, for this year, I mean, it's their only chance. But I would tell you, though, remember, they took that guy 4th overall. And at some point, you have to start thinking about the mileage on your young running back because you have to. And this is going to take a toll on this season is going to take a toll on his body because their only chance of winning is to use him as much as possible. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. It's been a very odd start to the year.
Yeah, there have been a lot of question marks.
So I want to ask you, quarter of the way through, because I want, and this isn't because for any other reason except that I want to be able to measure the time that's passed in this season and how things shifted. So 1 month into the year, and understanding that the point of this isn't because we know it's going to change. 1 month into the year, who's your MVP of the league?
Of each conference or just all of NFL?
In the NFL, if I said you're gonna be NFL MVP or Defensive Player of the Year, all that stuff. Like if you got to do your MVP, we'll go down the list. MVP right now.
It's gotta be Mahomes, I guess. I mean, he's lighting up the league right now.
Agree. Defensive Player of the Year.
Mac.
Agree. Offensive Player of the Year.
I don't know. I like Gurley. Gurley's been doing so much.
Yeah, I feel like I kind of feel like Gurley's a good answer. I kind of feel like it's still Mahomes. I just don't know who else to. He's just been so good. Coach of the Year.
Coach of the Year. I don't know. I like what McVay's been doing over there. He really turned that team around in a hurry to the point of they are scary, and he did it fast. Like this team was just all of a sudden like, holy hell.
Yeah, and it's just like that's insane. But for me, I'm going to take Matt Nagy. I don't think anyone had the Bears 3-1. He looks. I mean, that he's put together a pretty good roster there. I mean, some of that is the Raiders are stupid, but you got to give.
I was gonna say, I was like John Gruden. Then I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, no. I think just Matt Nagy to me, like I no one thought the Bears were gonna be 3-1. I mean, nobody thought that. And honestly, I'd probably give some love to Marvin Lewis of Cincinnati at 3-1. Even John Harbaugh. I don't know the Ravens are gonna be 3-1. But I feel like Matt Nagy's definitely been the most impressive. All right. Okay. So I wanted to go through that because I wanted to see like where we were now relative to, where we're going to be here in 4 more weeks, and we'll kind of go through it again and kind of see where we're at because I really want that measurement to go. There's still plenty of stuff to talk about, but not all of it's football. In fact, very little of it's football because we got movies to talk about, and I know you and your dad are big horror buffs, and we'll get to that in just a second. Let's do game picks so we can move on. We both picked the Patriots, so nothing really new there. So, guys, if you want to follow along with our game picks, NFL.com, just go right down the list. So, Titans at Bills.
I got Titans over the Bills.
Yeah, dude. So, this is one of those things I feel like we should. Some of these games I feel like we should look at the spread, but I think the Titans are going to kill them. Falcons at Steelers. This is a must-win for both teams.
I think Devontae Freeman's coming back. That'll help take some pressure off the defense that's just riddled with injuries, and that the Falcons will win even in Pittsburgh.
Oh, man, that game was crazy to me. I really like your point about Devontae Freeman, but I feel like you could say the same thing about James Conner the other way. By the way, I'm just going to say, if you look at what James Conner's done the last 2 weeks, I mean, Le'Veon Bell is there is just no comparison. There really isn't. No. There really is no comparison. And that's helped. And that's why Le'Veon Bell's going to be able to come back after the bye week. Like, they know it too. There is no comparison there at all. I'm going to take Pittsburgh at home. I just wouldn't feel good about either team really at all. I just don't know who's going to cover Antonio Brown.
Yeah. But who can cover Julio Jones? I mean,
yeah, but I feel like I just feel like there's more playmakers on Pittsburgh. They're at home. I can't figure out any way that anyone's going to cover Brown. But I'll tell you one thing, though. How about, we talk about quarterbacks all the time. How about Julio Jones on one side and Antonio Brown on the other? That's just good to watch as a fan.
Yeah.
Like, that's fun to watch. Those are two great receivers. Even like the secondary receivers, Juju Smith-Schuster and Calvin Ridley, man. I mean, some good ball players on the perimeter out there in those places. All right, so I'm taking Pittsburgh there. Okay, Denver at the Jets.
I have the Broncos beating the Jets.
I think so too. I thought the Broncos really kind of hung in there with the Chiefs, didn't they? I mean, that game was. I mean, Pat Mahomes had to work for that one.
He did, but it was nice to see the $23 million quarterbacks finally show his true colors. Everyone was getting real high on him for a while, and I was like, nope, just wait, and then could have won the game at the end against the Chiefs, but overthrew Daniel Marshall.
Yeah, Case Keenum, if memory serves, hasn't thrown a touchdown pass since week 1.
Has it been that long?
He didn't throw one on Monday, did he? I don't think he did.
No, I know he didn't throw one then.
Yeah, it's been week 1 then. Yeah, about week 1. He hadn't thrown a touchdown pass in a while. He had one called back, but that's all I can remember. All right, so here we go. I'm looking at it fast forward. Okay, this is a candidate for game of the day, and definitely one of the games of the season. Jacksonville at Kansas City. So you're talking about the irresistible force versus the immobile object.
Yeah, this is. I don't know. I'm just gonna go with defense. I always believe in defense over offense. It's got that. Man, they're in Kansas City though. This one was such a hard one.
Oh, I know, man. It's crazy, isn't it? This is definitely one of the hardest games to pick, which is why it's probably the game of the week. It's definitely one I'm thrilled the Texans play the night game because I'll be all over this Chiefs and Jags game. It's the only game I think I care to watch.
I'm still gonna pick Jags though.
Man, every time I think about one, I go back to the other, and I guess I'm gonna agree with you. I'm gonna take the Jaguars only for the main reason being that I feel like Jacksonville's offense can play better again in a good matchup with Kansas City than the Chiefs can play against the Jaguars, right? Conversely, the other way. I just don't think the Chiefs defense can stop them. I think they can get TJ Yeldon involved and control the clock, short passes, and I think they can get to the quarterback. The only way you slow down elite quarterbacks is fast to get to them. Jacksonville can get to them. So I'm going to agree with you. I think Jacksonville. But, man, the Chiefs being at home makes me pause. They are as good a home team as you're going to find. That's a good one.
Yeah.
I might backtrack on that one before the night is over. Serious with that. God, that one looks good. All right, Packers at Lions.
Packers, yeah.
Yeah, by a mile. Well, this one is a lot more interesting than it would have been. Possible upset: Ravens at the Browns.
I don't think there's an upset there. I think the Ravens will take it.
Browns are at home. Good defense. I mean, you mentioned it. The Ravens haven't really beaten anybody. This is a pretty decent defense, but yeah, I'll take the Ravens. I trust them against a rookie quarterback. I'll take the Ravens. Giants at Panthers.
Yeah, Panthers are going to handle that.
That's not going to be good at all. I'm surprised. Carolina's only a 7-point favorite in that game. I'm a little surprised about that. I kind of thought they would clobber them. So that'll be a bit of a thing. All right. So I lost my space. Oh, here we go. Dolphins at Bengals.
I got Cincinnati.
Yeah, me too. Raiders at Chargers.
Chargers.
The Raiders are terrible. I mean, I know they beat the Browns, but that was the worst. We almost had a second tie.
45-42 or something ridiculous.
Something like that. Something stupid. Like, just
oh my God.
Unbelievable. And, of course, I bench Amari Cooper in one of my leagues, and he goes crazy. I think the worst part was everyone was telling me to start the Start the Browns defense against the Raiders. How'd that one work? How'd they get 45 points? Okay. They're still the Browns. They're still the Browns. All right. Yeah, I think the Chargers will kill them. Here's the not game of the day. Cardinals at 49ers.
I'm going to take the Cardinals, but, I mean, who the hell knows?
Yeah, I guess the 49ers, they played well against the Chargers, maybe the 49ers, but they're not good. I could see David Johnson just completely, that's a golden matchup. I could just see him going crazy on that bad defense. Yeah, I bet the Niners are at home and the Cardinals are bad. So, rookie quarterback on the road, I'll go with the Cardinals. Here we go. This is a big one.
Wait, you said rookie quarterback on the road, but then you still went with the Cardinals?
Oh, no, I meant the 49ers. I'm gone. Yeah, rookie quarterback on the road, I'll take the 49ers. So we disagree there. Okay, so here's a primetime window. Here's another really good one. Another candidate game of the day. Vikings at Eagles, rematch of the NFC Championship game.
The way the Eagles defense has been playing against the Vikings offense, I think that will be exposed quite a bit. This will be a chance, though, for the Eagles to say, hey, we still have a defense. And they're in Philly, but the Vikings got 10 days rest. I think they're going to come out hungry and take Philly.
I think when you look at when you evaluate stuff like this, you got to look at desperate teams with talent. And of the two teams, the Vikings are the more desperate team. And I think they're going to go in there and beat the Eagles. I agree with you. I'm going to take the Vikings. Well, I guess we're doing game picks, so we have to pick Rams at Seahawks.
Yeah. How much do you think? 20? 20?
Well, here's the thing. The game is in Seattle. The Rams are 7.5-point favorites. So the question becomes, how much is a home field advantage really worth? Because if this is supposed to be the best home field advantage in sports, as people have suggested, then you would think Seattle could cover, right?
No.
Right?
No.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I just don't see any way they do it. I can't visualize. I can't imagine them being able to score on the Rams with that defensive front against their atrocious offensive line.
And they can't stop them.
And they can't stop them. They're not the Seahawks defense from years past. Legion of Boom is gone. Yeah, I'm taking the Rams. Okay, Cowboys at Texans, Sunday Night Football.
I am taking the Texans. I saw a little glimpse of some offense coming back to the Texans last week. I think that'll continue. Deshaun Watson seems to be getting comfortable again. I think they'll outscore the Cowboys.
I think that the main thing for me is I look at the game, and just like I told you earlier, I don't know who, what would give. But the only thing I think of is the Texans have a quarterback who can get out of trouble against that pass rush. And they have playmakers on the perimeter, including Kiki Kuti, who came first time he sees the field, the guy catches 11 passes, and he was a slot receiver. I feel like him and Hopkins and Fuller could all get 1,000 yards receiving at some point during one of their seasons together. They'll all have 1,000 in the same year. And I think the Texans are going to win. They just have more playmakers. So here's another really good one on Monday Night Football. Washington at New Orleans.
I believe that Drew Brees will make sure that team wins. I mean, they might have to score 40 to do it, but I think they'll make it happen.
I worry about how they're going to stop Adrian Peterson.
But that's where the 40 points part comes in.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Well, that's the thing, though, because if Washington does what it wants to do, they're going to keep the Saints off the field. That game being in New Orleans is probably the tiebreaker for me. I mean, they're so good at home, in the indoor track. I'll take New Orleans, but I can see a scenario there where Washington wins that game. Just running the clock with Peterson and keeping Brees off the field. I can see it, but I'll take the Saints. So we disagree on how many games? We disagree on
3 of them.
Let's see.
Falcons Steelers.
Cardinals and Niners.
I think that's it.
That's it? Is that the only games you disagree on?
How'd you do last week, by the way? I went 10-5 last week.
You know what? I didn't even look. I can go look right now.
You're a slacker.
I am a slacker. I haven't been keeping up. Yeah, let me look at this. Okay, so Detroit and Dallas got that one wrong. Houston and Indy got that one wrong. We got the Rams game right. So 1-2. I took the Bengals 2-2. I took the Bears 3-2. I took the Packers 4-2. I took the Eagles over the Titans. So I'm 4-3. Patriots 5-3. I took the Jags 6-3. I took the Browns. So I'm 6-4. I bent and took the Cardinals. And I was close, damn it. I felt really good about that when I got the ball back, but I missed that one. So where am I at now? What, 6-6?
Shit.
Oh, shit. Yeah, here we go. Okay. This is why you don't do this, like, on the fly. 5-3. Here we go. 6-3, 6-4, 6-5 now. Took New Orleans 7-5. I took the Chargers 8-5. I took Pittsburgh over Baltimore 8-6, and I took the Chiefs. So 9-6 last week. So you got me by one game. Well, at least I figured out what my record was. I don't even know how.
I didn't even keep a season score. Season, I'm 35-26-2.
Boy, look at you. Okay, hold on. So I never even checked my week 3. I had to go back and listen to the show. I was 9-6.
All right, yeah, we ain't doing that now. You go check that shit on your time.
No, I'll check it on my own. Okay, so what I do know is you're doing better than me. I got to pick up a game on you. Okay, you know what? Fine. I'll take the Chiefs at home. Try to get a game on you. I'll take the Chiefs at home.
This is how you got in trouble in the first place.
It is how I got in trouble in the first place, but there's a big difference between me taking the Cowboys, who are terrible, and taking the Chiefs, who are like at home in the best offensive football. And I understand, and I agree with you about Jacksonville, but the truth is, you and I both ways were wondering about that one, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I feel way better about, like, you know, I'm not saying I'm going to win that. If I'm going to try to get a game, it's better to play an odd like the Chiefs and the Cowboys. Either way, I have the red zone, dude. I don't think I'm going to use it. I really can't think of any other game that I would rather watch.
In the morning, maybe Falcons Steelers, like just kind of peek in every now and then.
Yeah, I would
no.
Yeah, I would suppose that. Yeah, the matchup alone would probably dictate that there's going to be a lot of points. And from a fantasy perspective, I imagine it'd be entertaining to watch. But I don't know. I just think about the Chiefs and, you know, and the Jaguars. I just think to myself, like, man, that is as good a game as you're going to get. And I just think the matchup is just wonderful. So, wow, that's going to be a good one.
Yeah.
I'm really excited about that game. I can't imagine I'm going to watch anything else. I pretty much think I'm going to watch like 3 games. Like you mentioned, Atlanta Pitt. I might flip back for that one. Mostly I'll watch Jacksonville, Kansas City, and then really it's Minnesota and Philadelphia. That's the only other game that I think is really must-watch TV.
Well, depending on how each of the teams is playing. I mean, they've both had good games. They've both had ugly games. So we'll have to see which teams show up.
That's true. Okay, so I tried to get into the Halloween spirit this year. And for those of you that don't know, and some of you know Goods, pretty well now because of all the different things that you do on your platform. But Goods, when I grew up, like his dad, is so into Halloween. It's crazy. I remember he worked at a clinic, and they turned a part of the clinic into a haunted house, and it was really elaborate, and Goods was involved in it and everything. It was crazy. So for me, because my schedule, I don't get into Halloween like that. So I try to watch movies to jumpstart everything, and I finally have started this tradition. So Janelle had never seen a couple of movies I showed her, and so she had never seen the movie Tusk. Have you ever seen that movie?
No.
Okay. You need to see the movie Tusk, and I'm going to tell you this: don't watch a trailer. And I'm saying it to your benefit. Kevin Smith did the movie, okay?
Huh.
And yeah, Kevin Smith did it. So basically, what he did is he wanted to make a ridiculous horror film, but also wanted to try really hard on that ridiculous concept, right? And it's just, and it works. Honestly, I'm telling you this. I can't guarantee you're going to like that movie, but I will guarantee you won't forget it.
So it's like a Tarantino and a fight scene.
It's good. It's good for its staying power. Like the funny thing is, Janelle said it was like legitimately like, huh? Like they kind of stuck with her. They caught her off guard. She didn't know anything about the movie either. So that's why I tell you, do not watch. It's on Netflix, dude. Like, don't watch a trailer. Just go on Netflix, watch it, and going into it blind is absolutely the best thing you can do. Justin Long is in it. He's actually the principal character, and also Michael Parks is maybe for those of you who don't know, Michael Parks is he's kind of a side character in a lot of movies. He was one of the cops in Kill Bill that found Uma Thurman's body, found the bride, right? And it was the older guy and his son, right? He's the older guy. He's Michael Parks. He does a terrific job in Tusk, fantastic. And they wrote the role for him, and you can see why. So I promise you'll enjoy it. It is one of the craziest damn things you'll ever see, though. I promise you that. But enjoy yourself. You might hate the movie, but you won't forget it. Other movie, we saw The Conjuring. You ever seen that?
Yeah, a long time ago.
You know what? That wasn't half bad. Like I'm not always real big on the possession. Jesus has to fight the devil movies, and I've never been big on all that. But you know what? That was entertaining. It worked. I think I like The Conjuring all right.
Yeah.
Hey, you're like, not much. And you have a recommendation for me? It's Halloween season. This is like your time. What should I be watching?
You know what's funny is I got so desensitized to that stuff as a kid because my grandma owned a costume shop and then my dad was always a horror nut that it's pretty hard for me to like a horror movie or anything like that. So movies that I like, which everyone's already seen, is Hereditary, Silent, or A Quiet Place, whatever it is. And, truly unique stories and well thought out horror movies. Cabin in the Woods, which I don't even know if you can consider that a horror movie.
I don't, but it's a really good movie, though.
Yeah. So just unique concepts and well thought out story, not just jump scares all the time, which the horror genre is completely dived into, which is terrible.
Yeah. No, I've been able to show Janelle some films. But one I'm excited about is Janelle has never seen the original Halloween.
Uh-huh. There you go. That's only got, like 2 murders in it or something?
It doesn't have... the body count's not particularly high. But, like, it really... that movie is a classic. I told her, it's weird telling someone who hasn't seen that movie about it because you have to temper your expectations, right? Because, like, back in 78, that movie had more of an impact than it has today because every slasher movie that comes out now is based off of that, right? Off of what we saw in Halloween. So the expectations have to be tempered. But it's a good movie, man. Like, I mean, the original Halloween's legit.
Yeah.
And, like, I'm excited for the new one quite a bit. And I think, like, one of the things I love, I don't know how much you've read on the new Halloween, but one thing I love about it is, Danny McBride's one of the writers, and he went back and, like, they just retconned everything. It was like, nope, nothing out of the first one happened. So everything, 30 years worth of movies, none of it happened. They even retconned, like, in part 2, you learn that Michael Myers is Laurie Strode's brother. They even retconned that. Like, nope, they're not even related anymore. Like, we're just getting rid of all of that shit. Like, none of it happened. It's all bullshit. We're not doing any of it. They got rid of it. And I think it's fantastic. But it's passing through all the critics, and they're saying it's good, man. Like, I'm legitimately excited for this thing. I like the fact that they even cast the original, Michael Myers, to do it. Like, they really wanted to hone in on that feel from that original, and I'm excited for it, man. I don't know about you, but like I'm totally excited for the new Halloween.
Yeah, I hope they actually make a story out of it, and not just try to do jump scary crap and create an atmosphere of horror as opposed to loud noises.
Right.
And I'm hoping that's what happens. And if it does, I mean, it's gotta at least be decent.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I love the idea that, like how involved that Jamie Lee Curtis was in, was on it, and I think I don't know, man. I'm definitely excited for it, and I really hope it's good because I've been waiting for a good Halloween sequel. Like I don't know how many of those things you watch. Did you ever get to like Halloween H2O or Resurrection? Did you ever get that far?
Like I saw 1, 2, and H2O, and that was it.
Yeah, yeah, that's what a lot of people have seen. So like, okay, so me, like I watched all of them. Like when I was a kid, like because really I just like the slasher movies. Like I just like to see people get murdered because it was my thing, right? So like, you didn't miss anything, dude, because they're all terrible. But like after the second one, Laurie Strode dies, and at some point she had a daughter, and so parts 4 and 5 follow her daughter. So Michael's hunting his niece, and then there's a sixth one where it's the little kid that Laurie Strode's babysitting in the original Halloween. He grows up, and it's actually Paul Rudd. It's one of the first movies he ever did. I'm not kidding you, dude. This is like young Paul Rudd. This was like Paul Rudd was maybe like 21. Like he was young when the movie came out. So here's the thing about it. It's called The Curse of Michael Myers. I encourage you to watch this movie for the. It is the biggest train wreck I've ever seen because, in a nutshell, reading the production notes is fascinating. They basically just no one could figure out what direction they wanted to go with the movie, so they just edited the crap out of it to the point it doesn't make any sense. The ending doesn't even make sense. Like, no one even knows what the hell is happening half the movie. It's the most ridiculous crap you ever see. So they ended up coming out with a director's cut that makes sense. And you're like, oh, okay, except that the concept that they're following is just stupid. It's just stupid. It all involves, like, astrology, what is that? Astrology is what they call it? The whole thing with the Capricorns and... Yeah, astrology, yeah. So it's like that. It has to do with that. It's ridiculous. I actually thought H2O was all right. I thought her cutting his head off at the end, a good way to end it. And then they bring him back.
Yeah, that was, yeah. That's probably why I stopped watching it.
Right, yeah, they bring him, it was just so stupid. It just went off the deep end. Then Rob Zombie made 2 remakes, which are just atrocious in every sense of the word. And for those of you that never saw the Rob Zombie remakes, they're horrible, down to this part. In the second movie, they actually have about maybe a 15, 20-minute. No, that's too long. There's no way it's that long. Maybe 10 minutes. Legitimately, it's pretty intense stuff. And it actually, I was like, wow, this is a pretty intense scene. It takes place in the hospital. And it was all a dream. It was just all a dream. Like, that's literally what happened. It was all a dream. That 8th grade nonsense of how to get out of plot lines. It was all a dream.
Well, even the first one, they made Michael Myers seem like he was the victim.
Right. He's like some abused.
Like, what?
Right, it's like he's some abused kid, and it's just like, the thing I like about the original man is that, like, the kid he's just crazy, and even down to, like, Dr. Loomis going, look, the kid's just evil. I don't have any other explanation for you. No, I love it, man. You know another one I showed you, this not for Halloween, but I've showed her this recently that I think is an underrated horror film is 30 Days of Night.
I actually don't like that.
I like that movie, man. I like the vampires. I like the idea of the isolation. The sun won't come up, and they're hiding out, just trying to. I thought that was really good. I really enjoyed that movie. That's one of my favorite horror films. I don't know. I mean, where do you? I mean, you gotta tell me, dude. Is there a horror film that you would recommend that I haven't seen? Because like you mentioned Hereditary, which I thought was great, and I thought A Quiet Place was fantastic. That's one of the best movies I've seen, period, in a long time.
I was surprised. John Krasinski really showed some talent behind the camera.
Oh man, he's got it down pat. The only thing I wonder, though, why didn't they just live next to the water?
Probably because they needed farming or something. I don't.
See, you don't know either. No one can figure that out. We have to guess. Like, why would if they can't hear you by the water? Go by the water.
Maybe there were river crocodiles.
I don't know. I guess you would worry about natural predators. Here's the one thing. I think about the creatures, though. I feel like that invasion wouldn't last very long. Because here's the thing. Like, if those predators are so badass, like those alien monster things, like, how would they not, like, kill the entire world in a matter of weeks?
Yeah, well, at least the thing's not smart enough to stay quiet.
Yeah. I don't know. I just think...
just get hungry and die out.
Yeah. I really love that movie, and part of me wants a sequel to it. Part of me doesn't. Just leave it alone. It's perfect.
Well, they're making it, so
They're making a sequel?
yeah.
Well, I'll watch it then. I benefit of the doubt, man. I absolutely loved it. I'd like to see more.
Actually, I can't. I think it's gonna be a prequel. Actually, I think.
How do you feel about that? Because here's the thing. Like, I look at movies like Hereditary and how good it was, and I'm thinking this is a really good movie. And my first thought was, it sucks that they're going to make like 18 of them. You know, like don't make 2 sequels and like The Conjuring, right? Like they've got a sequel, and then there's 2 prequels, and there's a prequel to the 2 prequels.
Yeah, I stopped following all that crap. I don't.
Yeah, yeah. I thought The Conjuring worked. I think The Conjuring was all right. I think it was. I thought Hereditary was better. You know, Hereditary worked because just the creepiness factor like really worked. Like it wasn't overly scary, but it just works on a fundamental level. I think I just liked it. But I'm hearing Venom sucks.
Yeah, I'm hearing a lot of bad things. I don't know if it's like Star Wars where people just get so amped up that no matter what was on screen it would be a letdown, or if it's actually just legitimately bad. It's hard to say.
My buddy Jake Hamilton is a lifestyle and film reporter out in Fox in Chicago. He does movie stuff all the time. He absolutely hated it. He posted. You can find it on my Twitter handle. I retweeted it. He absolutely hated it. And he's one of those guys that's easy to please. He likes everything, and he just hated it. And I think for me, it's like I told you before, man. Like the whole reason Venom looks like that is because the thing bonded with Peter Parker. You're just taking out that huge part of the story and just making this new thing, and I just don't see it. It sucks because they got the perfect guy to play Venom. Tom Hardy's a great pick, but it looked like it was going to suck when I saw the previews, and now hearing it doesn't really surprise me. I'll probably still see it because...
No, you will still see it. Don't even...
No, honestly, I will still see it. And the truth is, and Janelle wants to see it too, and we will still see it. But compared to the new Halloween, it's not even close as far as my excitement level goes. It's not even remotely close, man. I'm way looking forward to the new Halloween. For the next, I don't know. Venom just looks terrible. I wish that they could have done something with it to make it. It's 2018, dude. We're not going, and we still haven't gotten our Venom movie that everyone wants.
Well, that's the problem when Disney owns half of a story and Sony owns another half of a story.
Yeah, buy their whole thing, man. They got to fix this. It's ridiculous. And Sam Raimi had his chance, then chose not to put Venom in the movie until the very end, and it was stupid.
Yeah, stupid is not even the way. Basically, Venom was a dancer, is what I gathered from all that.
That movie was just so terrible. Like, where did they think that was a good idea? Even you and I saw that together, and I remember thinking the whole time watching it, like, especially when he fights Sandman, and and afterwards he's like, "I'm sorry, I killed your uncle. It was an accident," and blah blah blah. It's like, yeah, dude, you seemed really remorseful when you were a giant sand monster beating the shit out of him like 10 seconds ago. Whatever. I don't know. Yeah, whatever. I'm with you on Cabin in the Woods. Like, that's definitely a good horror movie. One thing I'm excited to show Janelle though is 28 Days and Weeks Later.
Yeah, those. There you go. Those are 2 good ones, horror movies right there.
Those are real good ones.
Especially the first one. I think I like the first one more than the second.
Yeah, I think they're both really good. Those are Danny Boyle. Yeah, if those of you don't know who Danny Boyle is, have you ever seen Train Spotting and he did 127 Hours, and he did Slumdog Millionaire, and then 28 Days Later. He's done a lot of good stuff. 28 Days Later is one of the better zombie films I've ever seen, because it's a completely new, because they're not really zombies, right? They're not dead. No,
they're fast as hell, which makes it terrifying.
Right. You know what I thought, and I'm not a fan of remakes. I don't know how you feel, but I thought that Dawn of the Dead was an underrated remake. That's a good zombie movie.
Which one is that, man? They've been in a mall. They've been in...
That's the one in the mall. Is the one with Mekhi Phifer and Ving Rhames. That
one. It was alright.
I liked it. I just thought it was a good zombie film. They wake up, zombies everywhere. They run. It was a good zombie film. It didn't be anything special. It was a good zombie film.
Yeah, it's just, that's what you take it for. I mean, it's just like bunch of shit and then zombie scene and then bunch of shit zombie scene strung together.
Most of the rest of the time on Halloween, I just watch like murder and death. I will tell you this, and you need to tell your dad this if he doesn't know about this. There's a movie called Hatchet.
I think he owns it.
Huh?
I think he owns it.
Your dad. It does not surprise me that your dad owns Hatchet. It does not surprise me. If you haven't seen it, it's on Amazon Prime. You can probably bootleg it rather easily too. But Hatchet is just—it's the guy who played Jason in the latter Friday the 13th movies, Kane Hodder. And he's just this deformed guy who murders people. I mean, the murder dude. The death scenes are just the most elaborate. The movie's intention is designed to be kind of funny, right? Like the deaths are so elaborate that you can't help but find it funny. And it has like remember Dodgeball, the weird guy who falls in love with the Russian girl with the messed up teeth. Remember that guy?
Yeah.
Okay, he's like the main character in Hatchet, and it's like they were just trying to make the most insane slasher movie they could make, just because the way that people die in that movie, and there's a death like every 3 minutes. Like the body count in that movie is absurdly high, and it's pretty good actually. I highly recommend it. If you're just looking to kill time and brain cells and just watch something and over elaborate death scenes. There's no plot whatsoever. It doesn't need one. Just if you just want to see blood and guts and gore, I don't know that you could find a whole lot of movies that are better than Hatchet if that's what you're looking for. Just blood and guts and gore.
You ready?
Yeah. Got that for you. What'd you think of the new Predator?
It's a movie I saw.
Exactly. Right. That's what I'm saying. Like I liked some of the Predator mythology, but I hated the new Predator. I hated it. Like the gigantic CGI thing. I didn't like it.
And then the dogs.
Yeah, the dogs too. Didn't they kind of do that in the third one? I feel like that was kind of familiar. Did they kind of have something similar to that?
Third one.
The one with Adrian Brody?
Oh, I did see that. I don't remember. That movie was awful.
That wasn't very good. You know what the biggest problem with that movie was, honestly, more than anything else, with Predator 3, was that we give Predators all these badass instruments. Like, why would you just show a bunch of guys getting stabbed the whole time? Where's my cool Predator death, you know? Like, the only good one they had was when that prisoner guy got his spine ripped out with his skull still attached.
My biggest problem with that movie is that Adrian Brody is like, what, 170 pounds? And he's
not in that movie.
No, he's small. His nose weighs more than him. Dude,
I'm telling you, like, I don't know if you remember, Adrian Brody's got jacked for that movie. He's huge. Like, to me, that's still the thing I remember the most about that movie is how jacked he was.
No, Hugh Jackman as Wolverine is jacked.
Look, okay, you know what? You got a computer. We're doing this podcast. Go pull up a still of Adrian Brody from Predator 3. Just go pull up a still. No, I'm sorry, you can sigh all you want. I'm just saying, pull up a still. That dude is
I'm
jacked.
doing it.
That dude is jacked.
Farting
like legit jacked.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. It's not going to change my opinion until I actually see this. Just say, oh, he's jacked. That's all you want.
No, these are pretty much. This is pretty much all of our conversations. So you're thinking?
I'm trying to find more than one because most of it he's got long sleeve shirts on.
Find the scene where he's fighting the damn thing, you know?
I don't know if I call this jacked. He's cut, but jacked.
He's pretty big, man. I don't know what you consider jacked, but he's pretty big. He's
Christian
pretty
Bale, in Batman, Hugh Jackman, and
dude,
Wolverine.
He's at least comparable. I'm just saying he's
no, dude, not even close to comparable.
Oh my, dude, hold on. Let me go look at this guy.
He's cut for sure. But he's just got that kind of frame that's just not going to add, 50 pounds of muscle.
Okay. Adrian Brody Predators.
Here you go. Look at this arm. No. Can I send you this pic somehow?
Here, I'm pulling this thing up. Yeah, the first thing I pull up, he's like covered in mud and predator blood, and he's all huge.
No,
I don't know what you're talking about, man. The guy's huge.
that's an angle thing, and it's
It's
still
an
not even that
angle.
big. I found
Hey,
this other picture. Oh shit, I lost it.
you're, just you're killing me, man.
No, there's one. Where the fuck? I just had it.
And for those of you who are listening, this is what we're not talking about like football. This is exactly what we do all the time. We just argue about and talk about movies all the time.
Stupid shit
That's
that doesn't matter.
pretty much. Oh, by the way, another good horror film, and I know this has been said 1,000 times, but if you guys haven't seen it, like, because I'm shocked at how many people have not seen the original Alien. I thought that everyone had seen that movie, and I keep running into people who haven't seen it. But yeah, the original Alien, that's a fantastic horror movie. It's just a fantastic movie in general. That's one of the few trilogies, or really trilogies. There's so many of them, but that's one of the few times where you see a sequel that actually lives up to the original. The first two Alien movies are fantastic.
Yeah, that's pretty much where it stopped for me.
Yeah, Janelle wants to see the other ones just to see how bad they are. I know Joss Whedon actively hates Alien Resurrection because they took his script and they butchered it and changed it to a bunch of nonsense, and he hates that movie. Apparently, he really likes to let people know that he hated that movie and they butchered it.
A lot of writers do that.
Yeah, I kind of tend to side with Joss Whedon on that, only on the basis that he kind of has a good resume that tells me, Cabin in the Woods you talked about earlier, and the Avengers. Like I kind of feel like, he's got a good enough, rep. And I know you like that show, Angel. I'll tell you one thing. What I'm watching, like right now, I'm watching the whole anthology, like Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Angel together. And I know some of our viewers or listeners are like laughing, oh, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Look, if y'all haven't seen that show in its entirety, that show's awesome. That show only gets better. And it's just really good. And so, I know you liked Angel. I know you've seen parts of Buffy, but I'll tell you one thing, Goods. If you go back and watch the whole thing, because Spike, who I know you're familiar with from Angel, is hysterical in Buffy. When you start season 5, and Spike is like one of the best characters you'll ever find. He's hysterical. But I mean, Joss Whedon's got a good resume for this, so I would definitely tell you to get on that. If you haven't seen Buffy, check that out. It's legit. I think.
Yeah, you think a lot.
Hey, you say whatever you want, but I told you to watch Buffy parts of it one time where Angel turns evil, and you got back to me and you told me you liked it, so I don't want to hear it.
Yeah, I like the character.
Yeah, the show is good. I'm telling you, that show is good.
I said I like the character.
Okay, fine. You like the character, but I'm telling you, that show is good. It's legitimately good. It's like just vintage Joss Whedon, dude. Like if you like Firefly or all those, if you like Joss Whedon, that's your Buffy the Vampire Slayer is like just full on Joss Whedon. It's great. I love it. I don't care what you say.
Yeah, you do.
No, I don't.
That's why you ask me all the time.
Watch Pan's. Yeah, I just want to see how wrong you are. Pan's Labyrinth is another good one for Halloween. Although I wouldn't really classify that as a horror movie, but there's creatures and monsters and crap. That's got to count for something.
It's all in this little girl's imagination.
That was the first indication I ever had that you had a soul.
Probably.
Yeah, that's one of the first ones. Guys, I'm going to tell you, and I'm going to be completely honest, Goods didn't cry or anything like that. But at the end of Pan's Labyrinth, he looked at me and was like, man, what'd that little girl do? That wasn't fair. Like, what? I've never heard him talk like that. Yeah, he's like, that wasn't fair. She didn't deserve that. I was like, oh man, like he actually feels bad for her. That was a thing. Oh, another good horror movie. Not really a horror movie. You've seen part of it, but just a kind of in that playful, over the top kind of way that works is a movie called Slither, which is kind of a fun watch. Make sure you've had a few beers in you. It's pretty good, especially if you had a few beers in you.
Yeah, that was enjoyable. It was similar to Cabin in the Woods kind of feel.
Right. Right. Exactly. It's just this outlandish, crazy, but it's fun. It's fun to watch. A little bit of everything: zombies, aliens, a little bit of everything. So yeah, you have the Goods and Danny recommendation from this whole thing. But I don't know, man. I'm excited for this time of year. Like I'm going to show Janelle the original Halloween. 28 Days Later. That's probably this week, and then sometime next week we'll check out some other ones. But I loaded up on a horror connection. We'll watch Get Out at some point. Hereditary will probably be in there. Just good, like really legit horror films. What do you think about that? You think the horror genre is kind of having a resurgence recently? With like I mentioned, Get Out, Quiet Place, Hereditary. We've had some decent horror films come out in the last couple of years.
Well, I believe that production companies finally realize that people are desensitized to garbage and just want good stories and to be scared with something other than loud noises. And so now people are required to bring up good stories and create horror and fear with atmosphere and characters. And that is leading to better movies.
Yeah, I'm down for that. I thought it was fantastic. I really enjoyed it.
I still yet to see that.
You haven't seen it?
Not the new one. Man.
Check out it's on HBO Go. So if you have the HBO app or anything, check that out. That's a. You see, I read the book, and I remember the Tim Curry one. Everyone remembers Tim Curry, and I'll tell you one thing. This is the unpopular opinion, and I don't know how you feel about it, but every time I talk to someone about the original, they're like, "Oh, Tim Curry was great." You know what? That movie sucked, and Tim Curry wasn't great. Okay, he was the best part of a really shitty movie. But it that came out in the 90s, that made for TV, that movie was a piece of shit, and Tim Curry was not good. He was just the best part of a shitty movie.
I didn't know that was for TV.
Yeah, it was made for TV. It was crap. That movie was always way more graphic and violent and just psychologically disturbing than anything that they could show on TV. And them actually being able to put all of that in a movie, I thought was really good. I mean, it still wasn't perfect, but it was good. I mean, it's one of those movies that, from the standpoint of a story, is fantastic because the story makes it work. So, I definitely recommend that. If you haven't seen it, I'll tell you, goods. You should definitely check that one out. It's good. I don't know how much you'll think of the movie as a horror movie, but I think you'll enjoy it just as a movie. It's good.
Alrighty.
That's pretty much all I can think of right now. There's all kinds of stuff that I want to watch for Halloween. I just like being able to watch a whole lot of horror films. You and your dad get crazy. I remember you guys went and saw Black Christmas that one year.
Yeah, I knew it was so bad.
The day it came out, right? On Christmas. It came out on Christmas Day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I remember thinking like, wow, that's interesting time for a horror movie. You know what I'd like to see this show? I would like to see that movie Krampus, only because I just feel like, why the hell not?
That movie's so bad.
Is it bad? That's the thing. I want to
Horrible.
see it. I've been told it's terrible, and I just kind of want to see it. I just want to see Krampus.
And I predicted the ending, which kind of annoyed me, but it's one of those slashers. I mean, that's all it is.
It's a Christmas movie slasher, man. I'll take it. I'll definitely take that. I'm definitely excited. There's definitely some. Oh, you know what I'm going to show her also, and I want your opinion. Is this a horror film or not? Seven. Brad Pitt, Morgan Freeman. Is that a horror film?
It's not a horror film. It's a psychological thriller, I guess you'd call it.
Psychological thriller. You could kind of bleed into horror, though.
It can.
I agree with you about the genre. It's probably not horror, but I think it's an appropriate Halloween movie.
It's an appropriate whenever you feel like watching a good movie.
Yeah.
I could watch it any time and not care.
One of the more twisted movies because you don't actually see anything happen. You only see the aftermath, and it's just terrific in every sense of the word. Yeah, I like that one. Dude, there's some good stuff. Some good stuff out. So I don't know. Hopefully, this is a good year for horror movies all the way around. But I'm definitely excited, and we'll see how crappy Venom is, and but hopefully by next show, both of us have seen it. And if it is as terrible as people say, then we're gonna have to spend a significant amount of time ripping on that movie.
I guess it's hard for me though. I mean, I love Tom Hardy. Yeah,
I love Tom Hardy too, man. But I told you, Some movies just can't be saved, but I guess you can put on a performance. As I told you, man, like, put your Tom Hardy love to the test. I'm not kidding you. And I'm telling you this is a Star Trek guy that doesn't like this movie. Go watch Star Trek Nemesis. He's the bad guy. Tell me what you think of it. Because I don't like that movie, and I'm a Star Trek guy. And I know you don't like, I know you're not a Star Trek guy. But you should test your Tom Hardiness. See if you like, I think he's great. The movie's crap, but I think he's great. And I'm curious what you think about him in that movie. Because if you think that movie's watchable, then I would definitely say your Tom Hardy scale, as far as like your admiration, is definitely pretty high, which I don't fault you for. But that movie's crap.
Yeah, I'm probably never gonna see that movie. I could care less.
It's crap. You're not missing anything. You're not. I would only tell you to. Yeah, I would only. Well, I like Star Trek. I know your opinion is wrong, but that movie's not very good though. But he's great. He's a terrific bad guy in that movie. If nothing else works. But all right, man. Well, I'm firing up the PlayStation over here. It's time to get cracking on just some late night scary movies. We're gonna go ahead and call this one. Call it a day. But guys, you have our game picks, and follow us again. You can follow Goods on Twitter at Fire and Miss. Follow me at Danny Mata Jr. Last thing, Goods, before we go, any major, like, if I asked you to give me a bold prediction, like a bold one, not, you can't tell me the Bills are going to lose, like, that you feel good about for the NFL season, what's the one thing you feel really good about for this weekend?
I'm
putting you on the spot here. I know that.
Yeah, last minute too.
Yeah, last minute with no time to prep for something like that. I know. Is there something that, or I'll put it this way: what are you looking forward to the most this weekend?
I don't know. I'm looking forward to the most. I'd say Matt Ryan and Roethlisberger will each have 4 touchdowns.
Okay, I like that one.
At least. I mean, one of them's gonna throw more. But
yeah, I'm gonna say on my end, I am going to say that. Okay, here's a good one, and I say this is the guy who picked the Chiefs. I think Blake Bortles is going to throw more touchdown passes than Pat Mahomes. That doesn't mean Mahomes is going to play poorly. I just think Blake Bortles is going to throw more touchdown passes.
Well, one of
that's
them
kind of
playing not the defense of the other, so.
Yeah, well, I don't know. One of them's Blake Bortles. The other one's totally not Blake Bortles. So there's that too. But yeah, that's my prediction. So time for Halloween movies, time for NFL. We're getting into the heart of the season. This is the good time of year. So had a good time, Goods. Guys, hope you enjoyed it with us. This was a longer show, but hopefully you enjoyed it. He's Goods. I'm Danny. We're out.
See ya.